All right, guys, welcome. It is day 3 of the 5-day Healthy Brain Challenge. Day number 3. Welcome, come on in. Hi there, Maloney, welcome in. Welcome to day 3 of the 5-day Healthy Brain Challenge. I am so happy that you guys are here and you are doing well in this challenge. Hi there, Dr. Donna. Welcome in, welcome in. Marjorie, welcome. Sharon, welcome. Welcome to day 3. Katina, welcome. It is day 3 of the 5-day Healthy Brain Challenge. And I am so excited you guys are here. You're sticking with it. Sharon posted pictures of her exercise. I haven't even posted mine yet, but see, I'm inspired, and when I'm done, I'm going to post mine. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, Heather. Welcome, everybody. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping because when this is over, I usually go through and I check questions, I check comments, I get things offline because there are people who are not on Facebook that are actually participating in this challenge. And interestingly enough, Sharon mentioned this morning, and a couple of other people did. So if you remember, day 1, we talked about nutrition. And one of the things that we talk about is beans. And a lot of people have trouble with beans. So you're eating the beans, you're getting really gassy, and you give up on the beans. And I don't want that to happen. Hey there, Oppo. I don't want that to happen. So one of the tricks, guys, first of all, you have to remember, so this is going to require a mindset shift, okay? You have to remember that you're eating for your health, the health of your brain, the health of your body. So sometimes it means you're going to eat the thing because you know it's really good for you. I mean, you almost have to change that in your mind, that I'm eating to live and not living to eat. So sometimes it may be a little inconveniencing, but it is good for you, so you're going to work with it. So in terms of the beans, here's what you can do. Experiment and see what beans are not necessarily as gassy for you. Try to experiment and see. Some are worse than others. But also, after you've been eating the beans for a while, hey, Tiffany, welcome. After you've been eating the beans for a while, your flora, your gut flora changes, okay? And then you tend to tolerate the beans a little bit better. So give it a chance. But here's another trick. Soak the beans, wash the water away. What we found is that this undigestible sugar that people have in the beans, but that gives them flatulence or gas, usually tends to be decreased if you soak the beans and you rinse the water away. What happens is most people generally just throw the beans in and start cooking, and then you have to deal with it. But don't let that stop you from having beans. All right, the other thing I wanted to suggest, on day number 2, we talked about exercise. And thank you for doing your exercises. And folks who haven't posted, go ahead and post yourself exercising. A, it's going to keep you accountable, and B, somebody else may be inspired to be accountable. So go ahead and post. I wanted to share a couple of apps with you. Runkeeper is one of my favorite. It's free. If you have a smartphone, you can download it, and it keeps track of what you're doing, how far you're walking, and so forth. So Runkeeper is an app, and actually you can friend people on Runkeeper so they can see what you're doing, whether or not you're walking the way you say you would. Another thing is, if you have the iPhone, as I do, there is, of course I'm looking for it now and I can't find it, but on the iPhone there's a section called Health. And on there, it actually keeps track of your steps. You don't know that it's doing that, but it does. And so you don't even have to get an app. You don't have to download an app if you don't want to. I had it here and I can't find it right now, and I'm not going to spend time searching for it. But on your iPhone, there is an app that allows you to keep track of your steps. So that's a simple way. Let me tell you something else. I just want to finish up the other two things we covered the last 2 days. Let me tell you something else. In terms of exercise, there was a story recently about a woman who lost 70 pounds exercising in her living room. I've often told patients this. When they tell me I can't go outside, it's too cold, I don't feel safe walking on the curb, and sometimes, my patients have neurological issues, sometimes it is true. And I say to them, walk in your living room, or get up and walk in space, walk in the same space, just march in space. And they think that it won't work. And this woman was on TV, she lost 70 pounds marching in her living room. We have no excuse. I have a hula hoop in my living room, and when it gets cold, I'm in my living room hula hooping. So YouTube is there. You can, there's a video on YouTube you can use. So there is no excuse. So that's for the last 2 days, nutrition and exercise. So tonight we're going to talk about day number 3, the third way to protect your brain and help to prevent dementia. So for those of you who are joining me for the first time, let me introduce myself to you. Hey there, Nicole. Hey, Dr. Kalani. Thanks for joining. My name is Dr. Diane Thompson. I'm triple board certified in physical medicine and rehabilitation, lifestyle medicine, and brain injury medicine. And I help people with neurological disorders. I help them adjust, adapt, and attain a new normal and a new lease in life. I also help people like you who are trying to get healthy and stay healthy. I help you with lifestyle medicine strategies so you can prevent, you can halt, and you can treat your chronic diseases, because I believe that you are the driver of your life and your health. You need to be in the driver's seat. So with the right information, the right support, we are all here supporting each other, then you can do the right things for your health. So day number 3 is going to be unwind. Okay, so what we actually know, let's talk about stress a little bit, and I'm going to tell you how that affects your brain and what we can do about it, okay? So what is stress? First of all, stress is really just the brain's response to a demand. It's a response to a demand. It's not really a bad thing in and of itself, right? It's the body and the brain's response to a demand. The problem becomes when stress is chronic, right? A little bit of stress is helpful. If I have a deadline and it's a little stressful, I get on it, I get with it, right? So, hey, a little bit of stress is okay. It is this chronic stress, intense and chronic. You see no way out. It is not, you don't know where the solution is, and it's day in, day out. And you're living in this soupy mix of cortisol. That's where the problem comes from. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So people often have this chronic stress when they're in relationships they hate. They don't see a way out. Finances is big. There's a job that they don't want to go to the job. They get chest pain every Monday, but they have to go because of responsibilities, right? So these are the main reason, and in fact, people don't realize this, but the top 2 reasons for chronic stress are money and that job you don't like, right? So we know that people go through this stress, and in fact, there are groups of people that have to deal with stress. They deal with it in a more difficult way than other groups. So women, they say, are affected by stress more than men. Older people, when you compare them to younger people, older people are affected more in a negative way. And also those who face discrimination, whether it's racial, disability, or sexual preference, they tend to have to deal with a lot of stress in a chronic way, all right? So now, what does that have to do with the brain? Because that's what we're talking about. This is a healthy brain challenge. What does all of this have to do with the brain? Do you remember yesterday I told you how exercise will build up 2 main parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex and also the hippocampus. So these parts of the brain that has to do with memory and learning and focus and concentration and creativity. He said exercise built those up. Stress actually atrophied those areas, those same areas. Stress atrophied those areas. Stress also kills brain cells. Cortisol will cause this constant exposure to cortisol will cause free radical damage that will kill your brain cells. I kid you not, the research shows it. Kill your brain cells, right? We know that the brain itself, after chronic stress, they take imaging before and after exposure to chronic stress, that brain atrophies, it gets smaller. You know other diseases where the brain gets smaller? Dementia, Alzheimer's, the brain gets smaller, right? So stress is very damaging to the brain. The part of the brain that stress increases, so I told you, let's see if you can see this. Let's see. I told you, no, it's kind of hard to see, but okay, yeah, I can see it here. I told you that the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, those are the important part of the brain that we want to build up. They actually atrophy with stress, with chronic stress. Look at the part that actually hypertrophy. The part that gets big is called the amygdala. The amygdala has to do with emotion, and fear. So that's the part that increases, emotion and fear. And then the creativity part, the learning part, the concentration, the focus part, that actually decreases, that gets smaller. So chronic stress is doing exactly what we don't want to happen in our brain. Remember, I talked to you about exercise, that it increases neuroplasticity. My patients who have had stroke, that part of the brain, we used to think that, you know, once it dies, there's nothing more you can do. That's it. We've learned that neuroplasticity, the brain tries to figure out ways of doing things, even if it's damaged. Stress decreases the brain's ability to have neuroplasticity, all right? So, and we also know, for example, they tested children. They expose them to stress. They test them with cognitive testing, do the scoring, expose them to stress, and then do the testing again, and they fail miserably. So stress is huge. Stress is huge. Here's another thing that is really important for you to know. Chronic stress can cause epigenetic changes. What does that mean? It means that it can actually change your DNA, your gene expression. And here's the other part. Not only will it affect it on you, but on your offspring. So chronic stress can change your genes, and it can then get translated into the next generation and those after. So it's really important for us to find ways to manage stress. And we also know that stress affects the body, affects the heart. Just about every organ in the body can be negatively affected by chronic stress. It just so happens that we're focusing on the brain tonight. But chronic stress is something that we want to deal with. So here are some simple strategies to help you when it comes to dealing with chronic stress. One of the first things is actually to acknowledge the stress, right? The worst thing you can do, right, is pretend it's not there. You can't ever fix something if you never acknowledge that it's there, right? So acknowledge the stress. Acknowledge the stress. The next thing is to figure out the source of your stress. So one of the things I've found, for example, is that someone may have financial problems, and that's the source of their stress. And they're spending their time meditating and doing deep breathing. Those things are helpful, but I am a believer in getting to the root of things. If you are just dealing with a Band-Aid, you're never going to fix the problem. So you first need to figure out what's the source of the stress and try to fix it. If it's your finances, you fix the finances, and that will help you. If you still have the problem with the finances and you're doing everything else around it, it's not going to be as effective, right? So make sure that you figure out, acknowledge the stress, figure out what's the source of the stress, and try to attack that. The other thing is to get in touch with your spiritual side. You know, whether you're religious or spiritual, we actually know from studies that prayer and being spiritual and feeling that there's something bigger than yourself is very helpful in dealing with stress. So figure out that part so you can help yourself when you're dealing with stress. Get support. You know, take off that superwoman cape. Take that off. And if you're a guy watching, take off that cape. You're not a superhero. You know, sometimes you just need to be human and get the help that you need. So make sure you get the support. And I'll tell you something else. A friend of mine, she's going to be watching this. It's an older woman, and she knows because I've shared this with her. She's very religious. And I tell you, I've known this woman for about 10 years, and for the 10 full years I've known her, she's been depressed since. I know that, and I've said it to her openly. And every time I've ever said to her, you need to go get some help, she'll say to me, God will take care of me. And I'm thinking, God is probably telling you that you need to go get some help because there's no reason for you to suffer. So I really hope if you're someone like that who's suffering, go and get some help. Please go get some support. I'm sure that God does not want you to suffer like this. You need to help yourself and go get some support. And the simple things like breathing, you know, you have control. You can take deep breaths. You can reset. We actually see that. Sometimes you can stop people by getting them to deep breathe, and you can check their blood pressure. Blood pressure decreases, the heart rate decreases. You can create those physiological changes just by getting someone to deep breathe. So you have that power, right, to sit there and just help to manage your own physiology by deep breathing. Exercise, we talked about that, releases the feel-good hormones. And I told you that not only does it help with stress, but even with depression, even with anxiety, right? Exercise is key, is really the key. And we don't do it enough. Sometimes I'm guilty of that. I got to remind myself because I say there isn't enough time, but we got to make time because we know it makes a huge difference. Other things like journaling. If that works for you, go ahead and give that a shot. There's something else I practice because one of the things that stresses people is a feeling that they don't have enough. That feeling of lack will get you every time. And one game that I often play, and I'll encourage you to do this too, it seems silly, but I'm going to tell you it works, and it's called the gratitude game. So anytime you're really feeling like you are lacking stuff, you don't have enough, that is a big source of stress for people. Play that game. So start with A. It's an alphabet. You're going through the alphabet. So start with the letter A. And just force yourself to think of all the things starting with A that you're grateful for. So maybe you have an aunt that you love. Maybe apples are your favorite fruit and they're in season. Maybe you went to Aruba and you had really good memories. Force yourself to do it. And when you're done, go to B and do the same thing. What we know is that your brain doesn't have the ability to focus on lack and also gratitude at the same time. So if you force it to focus on gratitude, you're not thinking about what you're lacking. And by the time you get to about C, the letter C or D, you figure out that you actually have a lot in your life to be grateful for. And you don't feel as stressed and feel that sense of lack as before. So you have that game you can use anytime. The other thing is meditation. Not only does meditation help with, as I said, just like breathing, lowering the blood pressure, lowering the heart rate, we actually know that it increases cortical thickening in the brain. Meditation is one of those things that actually will build up the brain just like exercise. So meditation is another thing. And you know, another strategy is to figure out times when you've had successes. Because if you have chronic stress, you're feeling overwhelmed, well, you want to look at those moments in your life when you've been successful, and you want to use some of those same strategies. And, you know, I'm a physician, and I'm going to tell you there are times when you just have to go and get help. You know, and that may mean go to your physician and whatever needs to be done until you can get back on your feet. But there is no reason to be dealing with chronic stresses because we know that it's detrimental to every organ in the body. And since we're focusing on the brain, it can actually atrophy your brain. It can kill brain cells. This is not exaggerating, they've shown it. It can kill your brain cells. It can cause portions of your brain that has to do with memory and learning, the parts that you're creative, the parts where you concentrate and focus. It actually will damage that part of the brain. And the part of the brain, the amygdala, that has to do with emotion and anxiety and fear, it actually increases that. So we really want to focus on managing that chronic stress. All right, so let me look through here. So Sharon mentioned, hi Albert, welcome, welcome. Sharon mentioned to get a treadmill if you have space and money for the exercise. I love that. You know, I went to visit my mom in West Palm the other day, and she has a little stationary bicycle in her bedroom, and that was awesome. That was awesome. So definitely figure out ways to get that exercise done. All right, let me see what else I have here. Hi there, Uncle Ian. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Melton. Welcome, you're watching. Thanks for watching. Rhonda, welcome. TT, welcome. Andrea, Erica, my cousin, welcome. Let me see if I've missed anyone. Marcia Mitchell and I went to high school in Jamaica. Hi, Marcia. All right, so listen to me. This is your challenge for day number 3. It's a simple one. Share the way you manage your stress. Share your strategy for managing your stress. There's somebody else here who is dealing with stress who may not know how to handle it. So share your strategy, your very best strategy, so someone else can learn from you. That is the challenge for day number 3. So make sure you share it. All right, so remember, day number 1, we talked about nutrition. So tomorrow, make sure you are still eating the brain healthy foods, those greens, those berries, those citrus fruit, plant-based. Make sure you're still eating that. Walnut is another huge thing. Flaxseed. Make sure you're eating those brain healthy foods. And if you didn't get the ebook that shows 30 brain healthy foods, just let me know. We'll get back to you. We did day number 2, the exercise. I asked you to do 30 minutes of exercise. So tomorrow, continue 30 minutes of exercise. Go ahead and put that pedometer on, get your phone on, whatever you need to do. Walk in your living room, get the treadmill, whatever you need to do. 30 minutes of exercise. That's all you're going to do. And you're going to add to that your stress reduction strategy. So go ahead and add that. And tomorrow we're going to come back, day 4 of the 5-day challenge. And we have another thing to talk about that I believe will help you to keep your brain healthy. All right, so that's it, guys. You know who I am. My name is Dr. Diane Thompson. I'm triple board certified in physical medicine and rehabilitation, lifestyle medicine, and brain injury medicine. And I help people with neurological disorders. I help them adjust, adapt, and attain a new normal and a new lease on life. And I help people like you who are trying to get healthy and stay healthy. And I help you with lifestyle medicine strategies to prevent, to halt, and to treat your chronic diseases. And if you need to contact me, my website is drdianethompson.com, and come back here tomorrow, 8 p.m. We're going to talk about another strategy. I'm going to show you how that thing affects your brain and what some of the strategies you can use to manage that. All right, guys, have a good night. Take care, guys.